Franklin actually is in Pennsylvania, and he says he sees Whitefield preaching to a crowd. As he describes it, in 1739, arrived among us from Ireland the Reverend Mr. Whitefield, who had made himself remarkable there as an itinerant preacher. He was at first permitted to preach in some of our churches, but the clergy, taking a dislike to him, soon refused him their pulpits, and he was obliged to preach in the fields. The multitudes of all sects and denominations that attended his sermons were enormous, and it was a matter of speculation to me, who was of that number, to observe the extraordinary influence of his oratory on his hearers and how much they admired and respected him, notwithstanding his common abuse of them by assuring them that they were naturally half beasts and half devils. Being among the crowd, being among the hindmost of the crowd, so he's towards the back of the crowd, I had the curiosity to learn how far he could be heard by retiring backwards. Okay, so now Franklin says, I wonder how far I could back away and still hear him preaching. Clearly at this moment, he's not really thinking about the message. So I backed away towards the river, and I found his voice distinct till I came near Front Street, when some noise in the street obscured it. And at this point, you can really hear the sort of enlightenment come banging up against the Great Awakening. Imagining then a semicircle of which my distance should be the radius, and that it was filled with auditors, to each of whom I allowed 2 square feet, I computed that he might well be heard by more than 30,000. This reconciled me to the newspaper accounts of his having preached to 25,000 people in the fields, and to the histories of generals haranguing whole armies, of which I had sometimes doubted. So he computes out the radius and area. Wow, he could actually be preaching to 30,000 people. Now that said, Franklin says by the end of the sermon, when clearly there was a collection plate that was going to be passed around, Franklin said, I first silently resolved he should get nothing from me. I had in my pocket a handful of copper money, 3 or 4 silver dollars, and 5 gold pieces. As he proceeded, I began to soften and concluded to give the copper. Another stroke of his oratory made me ashamed of that and determined me to give the silver. And he finished so admirably that I emptied my whole pocket into the dish, gold and all. So even Franklin sort of has to admire and ultimately contribute to what's going on there.